Was it quite intentional for you to take, I've seen multiple documentaries you've done where you're proving that magic or the supernatural isn't real. And again, that's super compelling because we would expect you to be leaning into that and persuading us of the supernatural. Whereas some of the most compelling stuff I've watched you do, whether you're confronting like a psychic that's pretending to speak to the dead, or I remember that reading you did where the woman had pulled up outside in the Mercedes, in the Mini.
Oh, in a Mini, yeah.
Yeah, and you basically, what was it? You read her, not her future. You read into her life.
I think it was that the psychic that I was challenging had mentioned
the Mini,
that she drove a little red Mini, and she'd been really impressed by that. But actually, I'd seen him pull up his car, parked next to her in the car park. Yeah, but actually, I think it's the opposite. I think there's a long tradition of magicians pulling apart psychics and charlatans, and I think it's because we end up with a knowledge of how those things work, and it goes right back to Houdini and the seances and exposing the fraudulent mediums in the dark. It's a long, and probably before that, but there's a long history of it. So the only thing about it is that if you're just going, no, this is fake, you're not being very entertaining. And by the nature of what those people do, it's more entertaining. So they've kind of won the game. So I've tried to avoid making, when I have sort of, attacked those areas, rather than just attack them and make it negative, I've always tried to recreate something and make it more interesting and better, while at the same time saying I'm not really doing this. So, for example, there was in one of the shows I did, I had an audience on stage. This was in Infamous, which was a previous stage show, and I was giving them mediumship readings, right? So I say, just come up if you've lost somebody, if there's somebody that you'd want to get in touch with if you went to see a medium. And it's a skeptical audience, kind of like me, right? Because they're my audiences. But so they'd come up and sit down, and I would start to give them these readings, and I would say, I'm getting a message from your auntie Jill, is that right? Do you have an auntie Jill that passed away? Yes. And she's not saying anything, I'm just making this up, but she's saying that you got a little dog called Bella that she really loves. Is that right? Yes. And I'm lying to you, but she's saying, and so I would like pepper these like impossible information that I was giving with reminders that I was making it up. And I just found that really, really sort of interesting, and theatrically it was really interesting, and much more interesting than saying, these people are fake, and prove it, and if you can prove it, I'll give you $1 million or whatever. So I've tried to find a more creative approach to that.
Do some people think you are supernatural in your powers?
Well, I was going to say, actually, after that, about a week into that show, I came out, there was a girl at stage door, said, I wondered if you could put me, I say girl, she was in her 20s, but I wondered if you could put me in touch with my grandmother who's passed on. And I said, oh God, I'm so sorry. I hoped it was clear from the show that I can't really do it, that stuff isn't real. And she said, oh, no, I know you can't really do it and it's not real, but I just wondered if you could just put me in touch with her. Like, it was extraordinary how we kind of can balance these things in our heads.